Welcome to episode 10 of the Shell Cordovan Podcast. My name's David. Thanks for those that are returning. And if you're new to the channel, new to the podcast, this is a combination of two of my greatest passions that I share both across Instagram and YouTube. Shell Cordovan leather in the traditional footwear context, and then selvage denim in the more casual space of menswear. Put those two together and you get Shelvage. The podcast is really designed just to encompass a lot of different topics, observations that I've made throughout the week, maybe the last 2 weeks, depending on how often I get these out. But it just kind of gives you the platform to kind of share and talk about those questions and the different kind of current events that don't necessarily warrant a standalone video. In this week's episode, I was able to finally catch up with Ashwin. You may all know him as Welted Wear on Instagram, YouTube, but him and I go back for a number of years now. We talk almost every single day, and we used to do a lot more kind of like video calls over a year ago. Probably for a year before that, it was at least like once, maybe like twice a month. Over the last year, haven't been able to do it, but that's besides the point. We finally got the chance to catch up. We talked about, the recent trunk show in New York. We talked about some workwear boots or workwear-ish boots. You'll see. And just some different topics along the lines of what quality footwear really is.
So King's Boots is essentially a competitor to Flame Panda. So one of the challenges with Flame Panda, as you know, is that it takes forever to order a pair of boots or shoes from him, from Pang and his team. It takes like, I don't know, at this point about 2 years. And his prices have essentially doubled over the course of the past 2 years because his demand is so high. And the other issues is he's not the best communicator. He seems like a really nice guy, but it seems like he gets like overwhelmed and just shuts down his Instagram for a while. So like the process is, while the quality of his boots in my mind is at the absolute pinnacle of what you could expect from in the heritage boot world. I was sort of looking for other alternatives for people who are really high quality. And so this dude on Instagram, Boot Gazer, I think his name is Peter. He is from Canada, but spent the pandemic in China for work and kind of got into boots during that time. And he actually is a guy who has been helping like WM Beijing and a few others like start to gain popularity for like elevated, like better than Viberg, essentially quality boots, but made in China. And so one of the first groups that he kind of connected with was this King's Boots. And I saw the designs, and the designs are all kind of unique. So just like this pair that I got, that I don't know, I'm going to just put it up. I don't know if the audience has had it yet, but the designs are rather unique. So this is a side zip boot that I think we talked about this earlier, but this reminds me of a Roper style boot, which is kind of a more casual cowboy, Western style boot, I guess would be the best way to put it. I'm not really into cowboy boots. And so I wanted something that was sort of unique looking that I could, wear in the office and I wouldn't look like a cowboy. So the unique piece here is this arch support that kind of extends from the bottom of the outsole and kind of the sole along to the arch. It's got this really like robust heel, almost like a cowboy boot with this fairly aggressive taper, like really kind of chunky heel. And it's fairly thick sole here, but a style that I really hadn't seen done before. And I just was like, hey, if I'm going to get something that's encroaching upon that like engineer cowboy boot style, this is the style. And I've come away like super duper impressed. Like his quality it's all hand done, hand welted, hand stitched outsoles, hand lasted, the whole thing. It's one guy who does it all. Like he's the guy who does it. And so his production times are not that bad yet. Like it takes 3 or 4 months to get stuff out. But uses high quality imported leathers, usually from Italy or UK or the US, and he can pretty much get everything he wants in high quality. And the lasts are nice. He's worked a lot on his lasts, and overall, I've just been very happy with what he's doing. And so King's Boots, this is like here's the outsole, like double row stitch. This is not a Veltschwinner stitch down. This is a double row hand welt stitch. You can see the leather is not folded over there. And so just a really high quality option. And another thing is, like how Clinch does that like ridge down the middle, you could see this little thing. I don't know what You see that? I don't know if that's showing up.
Yeah, isn't that like and I can put my face back in here too. But yeah, I was gonna say like well, that's like on my like engineer boot, and I've seen that on I think it's on like Enzo's Chelsea. I think it's just like them like identifying like the
Is it
center
what's?
of
Yeah, it's like, and they've
the
decided of the last or whatever. I just hadn't seen it before. I don't have any other pairs with that, and I don't know if it's just like, hey, this shoe takes so much leather that they need to do something, or if it's just like a design element that they chose to
I
employ.
think
'Cause I don't think it's like, I don't see any
yeah,
other like
and I was just saying,
structure.
so I think it like a- and that's like a really I guess I
Look at the inside of the shoe,
it's
dude.
a pretty robust boot, I was gonna say, but
Yeah, you can see it's got
yeah,
like this super thick insole. The stitching on the inside is just as like dandy as what I see on the outside. Um, I mean, you can see the quality of the stitching. This is the stitching on the inside. The zip boot. There's a zipper right there. Just really top notch stuff. Really.
yeah, the line down the middle that
Yeah.
uh I've seen that on all the engineer boots practically that I like
So
looked at.
your clinch has this too, or something like this.
Well, not anymore. Not anymore.
Oh, interesting.
And that's
It goes
part
with it.
of
Interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
and that so like that's part of what I'm hypothesizing here. But yeah,
Huh.
so what I'm thinking is like it's part of the boot making process where they
Yeah.
are really just like kind of identifying like the center of the leather
Yeah.
for the
And
last
then
so
once
that
it,
they can like line it up on the
yeah,
last because like I think you can
yeah,
see it like you can see it here. It's much
yep.
more subtle
It's like a toe
kind of
iron.
but yeah, so like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's I think that's what it's for though because I've seen it. I also saw like a hint of it on the Chelsea from Enzo and I
Yeah.
think it's just
Oh,
um
interesting. It's just an
it's
artifact of the manufacturing process, sort of. Essentially, there. It just felt
that
such a like a prominent part of this boot. I was like, wow, okay, that's.
yeah.
And I never.
So what I'm thinking is like it is a part of the boot making and then I think because of like the workwear ish how they kind of
Yeah.
obsess over the details it's almost like if people don't see it they're like oh well I really like how it's on all of them
Yeah,
so
but it's
then I
really,
think
yeah,
like
exactly. It's
I
almost
think
like a
some
derivative of the.
right so some makers maybe this one has kind of emphasized it a bit to
Yeah,
like feed
to
into that
create
like
that.
piece that part of the culture or something like
Yeah,
I don't
that
know
makes
but
sense. I'd be curious to.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
I'll
go with
reach
it.
out. I'll reach out to Sue. Sue, actually, the other nice thing about Sue, that's the guy who is behind King's Boots, is whoever's answering his Instagram communicates really well in English, and so I've been able to inquire and have conversations, and it's what I love is that nowadays you can get the boot of your dreams pretty quick for a reasonably affordable price,
Yeah.
and the communications are easy. They're not really that challenging unless you're really getting into some crazy minutia. I'm actually about to do a Flame Panda last guide. I went through his whole Instagram and went through every photo I could find of every last and kind of compiled everything. I just have to put the video together. But yeah, I don't know if he's got a dedicated engineer last. He might. I have to go back and take a look, but I feel like most engineer boots need their own last, like
Yeah,
from the maker.
and when I was like looking through like I did not like this at all. Not I'm just talking about the last shape.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything
yeah.
was
Not
kind
the
of about
choice of
the
leather.
yeah, everything
Yeah,
was kind of about like the last shape for me and like he had one that I really loved. But then just like
yeah.
talking to
Just
him
kind
like
of missed.
I got the same sense of like what you were saying. Not that there's nothing against him, but it
Yeah,
was just kind of like I don't really
yeah,
want to spend like $2,500 for like an
yeah. And
open-ended
wait,
delivery date on something that I'm not even
yeah,
like dead set on because then it just I don't know, it just becomes like very wishy like I don't want to wait 2 years. Like this is something I want to try. And like pre-owned was like the
yeah.
perfect way to go.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you want to buy Flame Panda, you have to have essentially a very clear idea of what you're wanting, in terms of leather, last, style. Everything has got to be perfectly lined up, and you have to be totally cool waiting for it and not duplicate it in the time being from some other manner. Like from my standpoint, I love his work, but I don't have any plans to get any more of his boots new ever, just because I don't want to wait 2 years anymore. Like
Dude, I know the
it's fine.
feeling.
I waited 18. Yeah, you do. From Yim, right?
I was gonna
Uh,
say him and Yim, Flame Panda
him,
and
yeah,
Yim are like they're
Peng and
literally
Yim.
like two like peas in a pod. Like just
Yeah,
everything
yeah. They're
about it.
kind
It's
of
like if they get like over
they
anxious
shut
about
down.
it, they shut down and they're like, oh, I'm starting yours in production now. And then like
Yeah,
18
yeah,
months later, it's like I'm starting them now. And it's like,
yeah,
are you starting
yeah.
them now?
Yeah,
And then he like finally sent
it's
the trial shoes and he's like, as soon as you send them back, yours are the first ones. And then like five
yeah.
months later, he's like, after these 6 are done, yours are the first. And I'm like, dude, like I like at this point, like I've like forgotten about them. You know what I
I think
mean?
it's almost like you have to just put those on the back burner. I have a pair that's being made by SEI McCarthy. It's actually just sort of one of his stock last kind of MT, like a made to order model, but he puts so much effort and time and has a very small crew that initially he quoted me 6 to 7 months. It's probably going to be a year to a year and a half. I've essentially forgotten about it. I have one more installment in payment that I said, hey, let's just wait until delivery to actually pay for the rest of it. But those are not cheap shoes at all, and it's probably going to take a year and a half to two. So I'm like, you know, that's okay, I guess. I'll just have to wait for them. But I'm not. I don't want to do that consistently. And just others, at least not at this point in my collection.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm fine waiting for stuff to a certain
Yeah,
extent. It's like as long as
I think 6 months to a year is probably fine for something you're really, really invested in that you want done very well. I would say at least 6 months is probably reasonable. And, if you're getting a bespoke pair, it's going to take longer, I think, just based on the process of what it means to be a bespoke pair. But,
yeah,
um, I think other than that, if you're talking about MTO or MTM, to
anything
me, it's,
beyond like 6 to 8 months is for just a custom order beyond 6 to 8
yeah,
months is like merely
it's a
because
long.
like right. I mean, it's merely just because like they can't handle the work, not in a
Yep.
negative way, but it's like they either have too
Yeah.
much or they're just they produce what they produce because they're just obsessively like anal
Yeah.
about
Very,
every
I,
detail, and maybe like that's what you want, but like normally a shoemaker shouldn't be taking like
shouldn't,
like
yeah.
Mecariella
And I
like
think that's
two
a trade off.
years 2 years for
Well,
order,
who's it?
like that's just
What's
crazy.
I know that some people handle it in different ways. It's hard when somebody says something and then they switch what they're going to say. I don't care for that
That's
experience.
yeah,
I'd rather either have like, hey, it's going to be 2 years. Just if you want to stick with it, great, cool. We have others who are cool with that, but like if you don't, totally cool too. We'll just move on. Um, and then there's others who just completely like turn off. Like Underhood, when he gets overwhelmed, he just shuts down and doesn't even reply to anything. And you're like, dude, I've been waiting. And these other guys will do it like via lottery, where they'll say, hey, I have capacity now. I'm just going to run a lottery, and there's going to be like 5 MTO slots, and the first 5 people I pick on my little spin wheel on Instagram get it. And there's different strategies. I just think you just have to choose what you're comfortable with. And, for me
yeah. I
at
mean,
this point, part of it's like getting in early on brands such as King's Boots, who, high quality, doesn't have that hype just yet, but like, I don't know that you can top a quality of a boot like this. This is sort of the nicest stuff I've ever seen almost in terms of the heritage boot style.
yeah. I don't. That's such like a tough thing. I mean, like I don't. I get that like you can't like tell someone like not to take on with like the lottery. It's like you either need to like hire more people or you need to like figure something out where it's like it's just kind of like
Yeah.
it's hard to recommend people,
Yeah.
shoemakers like that, and that's like why like I even though I have a pair from Yim and I have another one coming, like I wouldn't have
Yeah.
I never considered including him in like the comparison of like the other like handmade shoes from China, just because like
Yeah.
it's almost like,
It's
you know,
it's
there's
impractical to
really
order.
right. It's not anything like I would ever recommend to anyone, or I ever like think about
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
talking about like the
I mean,
best shoes out there, because like what's the point?
it's unobtainable. You know, it's like, hey, um, like that's why I kind of get not annoyed is not the right word, but that's why I kind of don't pay much attention to who is it? The guys in White Jack White Brothers and I'm blanking on the name. The Japanese
Jack White,
bootmaker.
Brass
It's the
Tokyo,
guy that not Brass Tokyo. That's um, shoot. I'm blanking on the name. He's considered the
Shogo,
best.
Shogo.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, that guy, Shogodo. But that guy, you have to go to Japan. You have to literally make a trip, and like a bespoke model, you have to go there and you have to essentially sit down, be measured, and that's the only way you can order is by going to Japan and
Um,
going to the shop, making an appointment, and get measured, and then put your money down, and then 2 years later you get a pair of boots that are amongst the best in the world. But to me, that's essentially unobtainable, and even if I bought a shoe like those or a boot like those on the used market, they are measured up to somebody else's feet. So like, who's to say that pair is going to even fit me in
yeah, I
my
mean,
particular? So like,
and
it's great to know about the brand, the White Cloud, and
yeah,
yeah, White Cloud. And so the bottom line is White Cloud is great. I look at their boots on Instagram and I'm always like, wow, those are really nice, clean, nice shapely designs. But while others are really obsessing on interested in talking about them, I just don't have much of an interest in them. Roll Club's
I,
another brand like that. They're a little more accessible, but like
they have
still
some
takes a
shoes
couple
around.
of
They
years.
have some pairs available now.
Oh, they really? Really
Yeah,
expensive though, right?
yeah. I mean, so like here's like the
Couple
Shogo
grand.
ones, and like yeah, I mean to
Yeah,
be honest, like this doesn't appeal to me whatsoever. I think that's,
yeah,
I mean
yeah.
like the skill
Well,
I
like
think is one part, but like it's just
the
a lot
design.
of, yeah, it's a lot of
Yeah,
exaggerated
yeah. It's an exaggerated last.
cartoonish, not
Yeah,
cartoonish in like like it's a joke, but like cartoonish in the sense of just like the features are too
it's almost like it
accentuated.
can't be your only boot because it's not something you would use as a daily driver. But it is,
Right, like this isn't just like a functional like workwear. This is almost like like a caricature of a workwear
yeah,
boot,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like
I
I'm
mean, I
not
think
being
his
like
whole
a
thing.
asshole. Like
Oh yeah. No. I think it's just, that's why this is
like
very much heritage style. Yeah, like that's a very exaggerated kind of toe box. It's kind of almost like a Viberg 301 kind of big blocky, but then it kind of shrinks down to this very shallow kind of heel and a kind of tapered,
yeah,
shaft.
it's,
So, it's,
and
yeah,
I was like looking at picking out this one, but then I was just like, that's a lot of money,
2000.
and
That's a lot of money. And
yeah, and
I had a buddy of mine, the Vintage Future. I don't know if
David
you know
something.
the David.
Yeah,
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 David. Yeah, he's super nice guy. More of a heritage menswear enthusiast, and his kind of broad. I love his little car talks and all that. But he very knowledgeable. But he got a pair of Roll Club engineer boots, and like the heel counter was off center. The stitching was a little weird. The like outsole stitching was like irregular in places. Like he was sort of shocked that he had to wait all this time, and he got a boot that most of his other boots would surpass in terms of quality control. And
and
I think it
what
really,
happened?
I don't know. I actually don't know. He comes in and out of. I think he has a lot of other things outside of the hobby that he's busy with, and so I don't know what the resolution of that was. I think he may have tried to sell them, and maybe he got a buyer.
But
Um,
what I guess what I'm saying is like a defect like that,
yeah,
which like an
yeah. To
off
me,
center
I'd
like
have it
heel,
remade.
right? I mean an off
I'd be like,
center like
hey,
heel
dude,
counter is like that's
yeah.
bad.
That's really
So
bad.
that's what I'm saying.
And he
So
showed
like
me.
the
I mean, I
issue,
saw the pictures. And it wasn't subtle.
so
It
that's
was
but
like
that's what I'm saying.
a
Like
B grade. It was like a B grade Allen. It was B grade Allen Edmonds stuff.
but like the resolution wasn't like something that Brian fixed.
I don't know. I don't want. I don't know that was how that
But
worked
you
out.
see the line,
Yeah, I do see the line. Yeah, there it is, right there,
and he crossed
and
the
that goes
line.
away. He crossed the line.
Yeah, but I mean,
The
like,
line was no longer there.
so like just arbitrarily or objectively, whatever you want to call it. Like uh, I think like this boot looks like much better than that boot, and I'm sure I'll get like everybody telling me like I'm wrong, but like
Those are clinch
I
boots, right? Those are the Brass Tokyo clinch
yeah,
engineers, right?
like the ones that I have, the ones in my
The
face.
ones you got. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
one
yeah.
where you
But
got
like
the shaft right there.
the shaft is in my face.
It's in
Yeah,
your
but
face.
like
Mm.
let's do one of these guys and then no, but I mean like I just think that this looks
Yeah.
better
The thing I
than
like
that.
about the Brass Tokyo models are that they tend to click in a way that gives them these little rolls, like you have on yours. And I think that that's really, you can see the difference between the new model and your model, which, is got those little kind of roll. It's almost, I mean, it's a cow. I think is that a horse butt or is that a cowhide leather? I wasn't sure what the leather
Horse
was on that.
horse butt.
That's,
Over it's
yeah.
a
So,
brown over dyed horse butt. Yeah.
gotcha. So yeah, so horse butt tends to roll anyways, but depending on how the shoe is clicked and lasted and whatnot, you might or may not get some of those, how the leather will, evolve over time. But it seems like most of those Brass Tokyo models tend to kind of have these like pretty noticeable rolls form over time, but in a nice way.
Yeah, so like and that's I think it's just depending on like picking the right leather because like
Yep.
if you like feel all around here. Not,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say like you can feel that like it's sturdy enough that like there's shell inside of it, but essentially like
Yep.
if there is shell, it would be in here. If the
Yeah.
horse had a
It
shell,
would
it
be
would be
part.
in
Yeah.
here. And
And
like
they say that
when
a
I'm
lot of
going
those.
around, like the shaft, I love to examine the
Yeah.
shaft. When I'm going around,
Yeah.
like you can see like right up here, you get like in some weird spot, not weird spots, but in some of the very like off center spots, like not anything like here or there. Like
Yeah.
you do see a little bit of wrinkle, but like you
Yeah. A
don't
little
see
loose
it anywhere
grain.
else. And when you like,
Yeah.
it's not even like loose grain. I think that's just like wrinkling because of like normally like that's like a pressure spot from your calf or whatever.
From. Yeah. Yeah.
But like that part is like you could feel that and then feel this, and this part's thinner. So I almost feel
Yeah.
like they intentionally pick the parts of the horse hide
Of the
that
horse
has the
to put for the
horse's
shaft
butt
versus the.
that yeah, no, well, that
Yeah.
has the shell in it, and that's why you see these like rolls, as opposed to
Got
like
it.
some engineer boots, like the structure isn't as like rigid, and you don't see the consistent rolls. And I'm just wondering
Mm.
if it's like there's less attention put into like whether or not they're like getting like
Oh yeah.
the most like substantial part of the leather, and like I mean I
Well, I
agree with
think
you, like
Brass Tokyo has been
yeah.
doing this for a bunch of years now, so I think they probably and they also don't have many styles. They like focus on engineers. They have their mass trainer, which is like a boxing shoe boot. They have a couple of different styles, but really, it's not like they're having a wide range of things. They're really focused on a couple of different models, and they probably really know how to select and click and last their leather and kind of choose which pieces go where, because they know that pattern really well. So they get a lot of consistency, I would imagine.
Yeah, and so like the other thing, and I don't know if you even know, because I know you're not an engineer person, but I know you're not an
Yeah, I'm not
engineer
an
by
engineer.
trade or an engineer by bootwear, but
Or yeah, or
um,
by preference, I am
the
not an engineer.
soft toe is
I
that
appreciate engineers though. I do appreciate engineers
yeah. I
greatly.
mean
Without
anyone that could
engineers, where would we be? Our lives would be unstructured. Just
they,
just
they
put it out
to an extent, but seriously, the
to
like
an extent.
the soft toe is that
Yeah,
like why I don't care, but I'm just saying like if this is a work or like
yeah.
traditionally a work boot, like why flaccid toes?
Well, Well, my sense is that, Brass Tokyo was never really aiming to make their engineers for workwear. They were using it for
But
the heritage.
but I guess like that was kind of the question is like, don't most of them have that?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know as well. It's not been a style that
but
I have
but
dove into.
but like work. So then
But I do think,
workwear boots in
yeah.
general.
And yeah, most workwear boots have like, like some of the more rugged, like shoes that are made to like, so if you drop a hammer or something on it, you're not going to
Right.
destroy your foot. They're going to have like a steel reinforced toe, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not even leather or, Celastic or whatever the hell it is. It's actually like steel. Like, so like some of the models I think are really designed based on the type of work. So if you're like a logger, you probably need certain structure. If you're a lineman, you're going to need sort of certain types of protection, which is why they have those pads on the inside of their on the vamp. So my sense is that some of the heritage is really almost like reproduction work where they're trying to reproduce the look, the style, the feel, the whole thing. And others are taking the idea of the boot and transferring the idea of the boot into the heritage style and saying, oh, we want our engineer to roll a bunch and we want our, whatever, and it'll look aesthetically better. But that's not really meant to be a workwear boot in any sort
Yeah.
of way. That's why I think like the only boots in the sphere that I've gotten interested in, this sort of heritage sphere, I don't own any of that are actually workwear boots are like the whites, the Pacific Northwest boots, like the whites, Nicks,
Yeah. Those are
Wesco,
like
Franks,
actual like
like
work
those are
boots,
actually
right?
workwear boots. Like their welting is not, their outsole stitching isn't as clean. Like, but you look at the soles, you look at the way those shoes are put together, you look at how the shoes are lasted, all leather and everything. Like those shoes are meant to like,
They're
you know,
actual work boots.
they're actual work boots. And I
Right.
don't need that. I don't need such an
No.
overbuilt boot. I just don't. Like, when am I ever going to do anything like that as a mid 40s dude who just like is never going to fight a fire, chop down a tree, or get up on a line and I die. So I don't want to die. And so from
No,
my
no,
standpoint,
but
I don't need that.
yeah, and
That was
oh wait, I
tanned
just saw
as
this.
Natural Chrome XL. Yeah. This is the pair I
Where's this
posted a
from?
couple days ago. This is a guy in the U.S. named New River Boot. He's just an enthusiast who started making boots. He's not taking orders yet, but he made one pair for somebody else in the community that didn't quite fit him properly. It's a guy who I've bought from before, and so I reached out and got a nice deal. It was still expensive, but I wanted to try this. I like this style a lot as a very casual, like denim style, and I don't have any issues with wedge soles, so I figured I'd throw that on and then check out how this horsebutt natural chrome XL leather ages, because natural chrome XL is typically cowhide. I don't like the way it ages, particularly in terms of the creasing. And given that this is horsebutt, it should roll rather than crease and have a different way of evolving. So I'm excited about it. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so yeah, and
And then it's a local maker who is doing this out of as a passion project basically. And it's this guy named New River Boot, who I don't know personally, but seems like a super nice guy, and is really just about to start to kind of sounds like he's contemplating switching to being a shoe and boot maker.
Portland leather.
Oh yeah, Portland leather.
Yeah, and
There's been a few things that have come up in terms of like what your brand is and what you're representing as quality and whether that meets reality. And I think, a lot of this has probably been driven by, honestly, it's been driven by Rose Anvil and sort of looking at what theoretically is considered quality and what goes into making a shoe. And you're looking at it from more of a materials and construction standpoint and maybe less so from a fit, finish, and comfort standpoint. But, Portland leather sounds like they basically completely misrepresented themselves as being kind of an affordable, like high quality boot, but they had like a fake welt, kind of like all kinds of synthetic crap and like stuff, a boot that wouldn't even, or a shoe that wouldn't even last, like a mock toe that wouldn't even last probably half a season, like nothing even comparable to what you'd get at like a DSW. So like he's been, Rose Anvil's been interesting because he is certainly got his own perspective and take on things, but he is pretty transparent about, like he cuts apart boots, so you really get a sense for what's in there. And it's not factoring in certain things like, how's the fit and comfort. And he's really kind of focused on like workwear stuff.
It's more so like the people that this ad is geared towards are the people that like don't know and are like, really need to spend like $500 on a boot, or is this true that like this $100 boot is like better than that? And it's like,
yeah, and that was me, honestly, like 3 years ago, this was me like looking into like not really understanding what a Blake stitch versus I had a sense of what was cemented and not cemented, but that was kind of it. And like my budget was a very different budget than it currently is now. Like my tolerance for expensive footwear is different now, very different now, because my sensibilities have changed. But at the beginning, I didn't know up from down. I just assumed that Alden was hard to get, super rare, only brick and mortar, and was really great. I assumed that, Thursday boots or, whatever, like all these brands, Becket Simon was the one that I thought was going to be, was represented as like high quality, because there was a guy, I think the Cavalier or somebody like that, who was talking a lot about it, and
right.
how these are really the equivalent of something much higher end. But it turns out that they're not, and for a number of reasons. And so I didn't know any better, and the marketing worked, and I bought a few pair of Becket Simon before I knew better.
Right. And all that kind of stuff I think is like pure garbage. Not the shoes. I think like the marketing tactics and like a YouTube channel like that kind of like propagating that information, I think is like garbage. Like
the only thing I still have left, you can kind of see it here. It says Becket Simon on it.
But even the
I
name,
use this. The name is gone away. I use this as a polishing rag because the synthetic crap that they set their shoes in makes for a really good. It lasts. Clearly, it lasts, unless you put like a match close to it, and then it'll explode. But it does make for a nice high shine rag. Like I use it to shine. Like I literally use it on this to get this nice little mirror shine. I like just kind of use this thing to kind of shine it up. And like thanks to Jesper's suggestion of using pantyhose on your hands to shine your shoes, like like I have to go to the women's lingerie section to pick up some high shine products. I just decided to keep my Becket Simon craptastic bag, and now I can shine shoes lovely. Look at that shine.
It does look really good. I think there's a difference between like saying like, a synthetic toe stiffener is better than a leather one, or a leather is better than that, because that's just kind of like somewhat objective, but like you can have your opinion if you think like cost savings is more important than something else. But like,
yeah, for sure,
outright like deceiving somebody into thinking that they're getting one thing and it's just completely not, is like different than like a merit-based argument on like quality of different material. At least,
well, it's interesting you bring that all up, and we talk a little bit about Jesper and Jesper, and just you're recently participating in the first North American Super Trunk show, and seeing kind of a wide range of brands at this trunk show, and you representing one of the top brands probably at the show, if not the top band at the show with Acme. But I was kind of curious about sort of your takeaways, and maybe you didn't have that much time to kind of to look at other brands and stuff. But I was always curious, like Bridlin, who I've started to form a relationship with just because they've given me the chance to review some of their shoes, which has been really cool. They were I think a platinum sponsor.
Yeah, I mean so the show was like, I had a lot of fun, but I think that was mainly just because like the just like being there and kind of meeting like Vlad, and then having to just be part of it. I wouldn't say like I had the same type of experience as like just somebody that was like attending it, because like I did it was a different experience. Like I was literally like behind the table, like not helping. I was
Ron Acme, right? Yeah.
like answering questions, talking to people about the shoes. Other people would like Andy and Justin from like Dapper Woodworks, and some of the other like shoemakers or brands kind of came up and chatted, but they all had like staffs with them, so they had like 3, 4, 5 people where like they could leave their table and walk around.
Yeah.
To me, it was really just like me, so I only had that opportunity for like a half hour or so, I think. But like I still got to like see a lot of it, and I mean, it was like everything that I heard like from everyone else was they had a great time, and I mean I had a really good time too. I think the I don't, and I wasn't at the one in London or the past ones, but I think the difference here was like it was like multiple rooms on multiple floors.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So not everybody on the same space. Interesting.
Yeah. So it was like I was next to like TLB, or like I meaning like Acme was next to like TLB and CNES and Old House Provisions and
Okay.
Last Shoemaker, Dapper Woodworks, George Lyon, and Paulo Scafora. Very
And
like
those all sound like brands that are about on the same par, right?
no, a little bit different.
Sorry. Just
I
had
like I was like looking at you like cross-eyed there for a second. No, I mean they were all,
to...
so we're all saying
They
like
put them
all like respectable brands, just on like very
different. Yeah. Which in some ways is good because it forces people to kind of look around,
yeah,
and there's obviously brands that are trying to make a name for themselves in that list, and others who are
yeah.
established, and others that are there to just represent their, maybe looking at the end new markets and things like that.
It just makes it so that it's more appealing to like a wider, like
A
more people,
broader audience, yeah,
because like that it's not just like $3,000 shoes.
yeah, which is
Completely,
crazy for most people.
yeah, and and then like the other room was Bridlin Optio hats and somebody else.
Okay.
And then like downstairs was like Davidge Bespoke, I think, and Skolix and Carmina and one or two others.
Okay.
And then like the shoe shine contest was like right in the middle of all
All
it.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a piano on the second floor.
Oh,
We were on the second floor, so we had to
listen to the piano.
take like a what do they call those like really small like elevators, like a dead waiter or something? What is it called? It wasn't that,
Yeah.
but it was like about that size. That was fun.
So the one that had like the mesh, like the accordion style thing.
I felt like I was in the Titanic with Vlad and two suitcases.
Yeah, yeah. If I had to be stuck somewhere, I don't know Vlad personally, but of all the people you might have to get stuck with at a table or in an elevator, it seems like Vlad Richer might be the guy you want us to be stuck with.
It wasn't even, I wouldn't even call it an elevator. Like this thing like almost like stalled out like halfway through. But it was a really nice building. It was a really nice building. It was just
a death trap.
Yeah. And I mean, like we probably put too much weight in the elevator. There was a lot in there. But I mean, it was the whole experience. Like, I think the only thing like I would say from a standpoint of making it better would be like if you have multiple rooms on multiple floors, like shut some of them down throughout the day, so that the
Yes.
people can circulate, and that when you do that, people that are walking around don't think that like, oh, this table just doesn't have anyone to help us, but it's like that room closed. Like everyone else, that room will be back open at this time, then that room will be back open, and then that way it just kind of creates a little more of a like a flow throughout the tables. And the other pieces I think there was supposed to be like signage that there like wasn't. Maybe I was supposed to have signage, but I think they had said they would have the signage or it would be at the table. I don't know. Either way, I think like that kind of thing, just to kind of like walk people through like where they're going, and when to go there. But other than that, I think that there were like a lot of like just from observing.
Bridlin told me there were 1,200 people who came, which is pretty impressive.
Who said that?
Bridlin. I was asking how successful their show, because they were a platinum sponsor. They were pretty happy with how it went from.
So like I don't know if they were actually like selling shoes. Like TLB gave me the perception that like they were selling shoes. Like they had
actually had pairs for sale.
Like they had a lot of shoe boxes with them.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody else, like, I didn't see people like walking out with shoes, except for the shoes
interesting.
Except for the shoes that they had on when they got there. But yeah, I mean, it was like I would love to be able to go and just have either like if I was gonna like work it again. I don't know if that's what you would call it, but I'd like to have like more, just like more people like with me if I had to do that, or not have to do that, so I could just like, you know, do whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was pretty. It was
I mean,
pretty.
it sounds like it was a great first effort, and a lot of sort of seminal people in the current like online shoe and footwear community certainly focus more on that classic menswear segment. Um, kind of the higher end footwear stuff.
Yeah,
It seemed like a cool opportunity to be part of.
I actually kind of wish that they had like more. Just like a broader, like, yeah, it's like the New York trunk show for shoes, but like, I don't know, just a broader scope of like, this room is all like the shoemakers of like bespoke. This room is all the ready to wear. Here's a room of like your room of your accessories, because it just makes it more like fluid, because it's like, all right, I want to go and look at the whatever, and then you go into that room and you can see them all, as opposed to if you want to see all the bespoke shoemakers, you kind of had to go into almost not every room, maybe like 2 of the 3 rooms, or one of the rooms. They were all the bespoke makers were in one room, I guess. But there were accessories and just like the other types of sponsors kind of like sprinkled throughout, where like that they probably should have been in their own room, I would think.
Yeah.
It would have just made
I think it's more efficient.
Yeah. And then again, I wasn't walking around, so I don't really know if it was or wasn't efficient, but hope you guys enjoy it. It's about a half hour, maybe like 35, 40 minutes long. Originally, it was a live stream, but we had some audio issues, so I figured I'm just going to edit it together, throw it in a podcast, and you all can enjoy it at your own time and pace. Hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you guys did make it this far into the video, I would love to hear what your favorite part was. And if you have any questions or topics that you would like us to tackle during our next conversation, which hopefully will not take a year to do. That's how I'll know that you made it this far into the video, and I'll prioritize getting back to your comments over anybody else's. Stay tuned. Hopefully, I'll get back on a weekly schedule, but if not, would love to hear any requests, topics, or questions, and I'll put the link in the description and the show notes for you to drop a question or a voicemail into the pod inbox, and I'll play it on next week's episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all soon.